we're going to tell you what we thought of Remy,
Yes.
the French specialty dining restaurant on Disney Cruise Line.
Très bien. That's very good.
It is. Okay. So let's start off by telling you how our meal started. At Remy, it's adults only,
Mhm.
um, fine dining, French restaurant.
Yes.
And of course, you start off, you sit down, they're going to offer you wine, they're going to offer you champagne, but you got to at least start with the bread.
Exactly.
And they offered us up some delicious, tasty bread, French bread, I'm guessing.
Yes, it was made on board the ship.
And what's the deal with the little, there's a fancy little tray behind the bread. What's on the tray?
That is 3 types of butter. So you have
I think the first one on the left was saffron butter,
and
and then regular butter.
regular.
Do you remember what the kind of gray one is? That's kind of out of focus.
Truffle butter.
Truffle butter. Ooh, I think I like that one. I think I liked all of them. And then you have a little bit of sea salt there, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, that's how we start our meal. Not surprisingly, started with bread, but then it's French. So there's a lot of courses, a lot of extra special things. We're going to tell you all about it.
Yes.
Started next with the canapés. You want to tell them about the canapés?
So canapés are just little bites,
Mhm.
and they gave us 2 each. So
What were the white ones? Yeah.
the white ones are potato with it's a foam kind of potato.
Yeah, it's foamed. I've had potatoes many ways, fried, baked, but foamed potato.
Yeah,
That sounds strange. And it's in a little pastry, I won't say cup, but just very shallow little cup.
Yep.
And
Like
what'd you think of it?
Eggshell thin.
Hmm.
I liked it.
Yeah, it was good. And the other one, the brown one, that's foie gras. And again, it's on a foamed, I don't know if it's potato or what was with it, but it complemented really well. And it's on a little pastry cup too. So that was the canapés that we started our meal with.
I gave him mine because I know he likes truffle.
Yeah, so they were very good, but we were just getting started. So let's talk about the menu. I know people are probably curious to know how much it cost because I'll just say right now, this is the most expensive specialty restaurant we've ever dined at on a cruise ship, and we've tried a lot of different specialty dining options on different cruise lines because that's kind of one of our favorite things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Is splurge even after we've paid the bill. So you do pay extra. And in our case, when we sailed a month and a half ago, you had 2 options. You could pay a la carte, or you could go with the prefix menu. They had 2 different chefs that have catered 2 different prefix meals with multiple courses. And for each person, regardless of which of those 2 prefix menus you choose, it's $125 at the time when we sailed.
Wow.
$125 per person for either of the 2 menus. And spoiler alert, we tried both.
Mm-hmm.
I tried one menu and you tried the other menu, so we
Right.
shared. But I should also mention there was also the option to get a wine pairing with each course, and that was an extra $150 per person. Or you could do a champagne pairing for $140 extra per person.
Boy.
So, yeah, it could add up. But let's talk about the food. I know it's what people want to hear about. So let's start off with the French menu. This is the one that we shared, but this is the one that you basically ordered. And started off with the first course was salmon. And it was very delicious, very nice, generous piece of salmon.
Mm-hmm.
And then it had, what's the green stuff? Do you remember what that was?
I think that was avocado.
Yeah, it was an avocado.
Mousse?
It wasn't guacamole, but it was a very light, creamy, and I think it was avocado, like a mousse. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's like those little breadsticks,
Pretzel
cheese sticks
with cheese inside.
Very creative.
Yep.
And it's French food, so the French are aware that we eat with our eyes first, right? As the saying goes, I believe. And you can see that they did a beautiful job of plating this, and it all tasted good. I don't think, between the 2 of us, I don't think we sent back a plate with any food on it.
Right.
The
the presentation was just amazing. It was just gorgeous.
And the food was delicious. Next up, this is a beet salad.
Ah.
Very thinly shaved beets and other vegetables. And again, sort of a foamed dressing.
Yeah.
Big with the foaming. What do you think?
know if that would be considered a salad in my book.
Mm,
It's kind of small.
well, yeah, it wasn't huge, especially when you're sharing with someone. So let's talk about what was the third course on that menu.
That was the
That was the lobster,
lobster.
yeah, and it had this huge crisp. Okay, so it was lobster. You can see, I think you can see the lobster tail in there, and then there's mushroom, and there is a bisque. Bisque is that
A
what you call
lobster bisque,
it?
yep.
And then the crisp. Which the crisp I was trying to describe, I'll describe it as kind of like almost like rice, a
Shrimp
very
shrimp
very thin
toast.
rice
Shrimp
cracker.
cracker, yeah. Or lobster cracker.
I think you're making stuff up now. Okay, we're gonna move on. The next course, the last course before the dessert for this first chef's menu was a very delicious, very tender, melt in your mouth piece of meat, beef,
Mm.
and it accompanied.
With gnocchi.
Well, what's gnocchi for people that don't know?
I think it's like a potato
Hmm.
that's been formed. So it's almost like a pasta kind of.
It's kind of like that. I think it's too bad my mom's not here because I know she's a big gnocchi fan, and she would definitely be she would be well qualified to describe that. But it was delicious, right?
Yeah.
Meat and potatoes, French style. So
Mhm.
then at the end of that particular chef's menu, they finish, of course, with dessert.
Yeah.
And what was this? This is an interesting display.
So this is, I believe, passion fruit with a like a
Passion fruit, what was it?
sorbet
Sorbet.
with
Hmm.
a chocolate cookie.
Oh, around the outside, but sure.
Mhm. And
And
then
mhm,
that's like a
uh-huh,
pistachio
cream.
cream.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I think when the server brought the food over to us, they've described it to us, but he had a really really authentic French accent, and I'm not sure I always understood what what he was saying. Just to be honest.
And they talk
Um,
really fast.
yes, well, he's used to saying it because he serves the same menu probably to a lot of people. But that was
Exactly.
very good. You liked the passion fruit sorbet,
I did.
or I think that's what you call it.
I let you have the pistachio.
Yep. The next menu was by a chef who is the server described him as the American chef. It's still a French restaurant, but the first course was what?
A crab salad, I
Yeah,
believe.
king crab on the base is watermelon, and then it
Yum.
had like this kind of like crab salad. I mean, it's just a lot of crab, and then he had this crab claw on top, and of course these beautiful herbs topping it off. Once again, the presentation is king, just like the crab is. King
Yeah.
crab.
It was so good. I like the watermelon touch. It was
Yeah,
very good.
very refreshing. A great start for this menu, first
Yep.
course. Next up, we had the Glacier 51 toothfish. Now,
And
if you're
explain
not
why it's called
okay,
Glacier 51
if you haven't had Glacier
toothfish.
51 toothfish, and yes, that's its actual name, this fish is a very tender, very just melt in your mouth fish. It's like I believe I read that was can be compared to like uh, the Kobe steak of fish. It's just very tender, and the reason it's called Glacier 51 toothfish is because it's sourced southwest of Australia near a glacier that is referred to as 51 Glacier or Glacier 51. So very amazing uh, fish. And
And
I
did you like the crisp on top?
yeah, and the little puff. It's a hollow little puff on top was a nice little touch too. But yeah, that fish was the star. That was amazing. That might have
Mhm.
been my favorite thing at Remy.
Okay.
Let's take a look at what was next on that particular menu though, and that was what
I don't know.
that was the quail, the
Oh,
French
the
quail.
quail.
Yeah,
French quail.
and it's served with maple sauce and
Little
chestnuts.
Yep, and
Chestnuts.
little potatoes.
Yep, I believe so. Yeah, and that was also very good. I think the sauce was the best part of this one. The sauce was delicious. And I'd never had a chestnut before that I can recall. Maybe in a recipe that I just wasn't aware it was in there. But
I always
um,
think when I hear chestnuts, a Christmas song.
you think they should be roasting on an open fire instead of on a plate with your French quail? But it was good. It was very
Exactly.
good. Tender poultry. I don't know that I've ever had quail before that, but it didn't
Yeah.
taste particularly gamey or anything else that you might think of with a wild bird.
Did it taste like chicken?
It tastes like dark meat chicken is what I recall, yes. Yep, and that's not a, yeah, it was good.
It
It's
was
good.
good,
So,
yeah.
next up, I forgot to mention we had an option to add an extra entree, to double an entree, and we went for the option to do that. I forget how much extra it cost, but I don't think it
Mm,
was a lot relative to the full bill, and we opted to double the Australian Wagyu beef. So on
yeah.
this extra large plate, we've got 2 portions instead of just 1, and then what's the thing in the back? It's like
That's
polenta?
that's polenta with baby vegetables.
Yeah, I know the star of this plate for joy was the baby
I
vegetables.
love the baby
So
vegetables.
cute.
They were so
I think she put
cute.
them in her purse and took them home.
No.
But the beef was very good, very tender.
Mhm.
Again, I think I'd probably rather have the toothfish, which I am a steak guy, so that kind of surprises me. But
Well,
um,
I would have had the fish.
yeah,
I
yeah,
would have had both your fish.
yep. But the wagyu was very good, prepared just as we ordered it. We ordered medium rares,
Uh-huh.
but I think they would be skilled at preparing it however you want.
And there's that sauce. The
Yep, yep. And I had the sauce. And the last course for the second menu was what?
a chocolate cake?
I thought the cake had like a kind of like a molten center, or maybe not molten, but it had a liquid center,
Mhm.
kind of like a lot of these cruise lines serve now in their main dining room. And then the chocolate on top. That did we say that was kind of a soft, like a fondant or something that was rolled in sugar?
Yeah,
That's how what I
I
remember.
can't really remember, but I liked it. I liked it.
Because after we were finished, we thought we'd had dessert. In fact, we had 2 different desserts. We had one from the French chef's menu, and we had one from the American chef's menu, since we tried both prefix menus. And if you're tuning in late, just mention that each of these menus had the different courses. What is that? 6 courses, and it was $125 per person.
Mhm.
So we each tried one of the menus and shared, and then they brought out what he referred to as petit fours, which isn't exactly how I picture petit fours, especially the ones in back. But
So
yeah,
those are more like a fruit, a gelled fruit
hmm,
that's rolled up. So
hmm,
it was really good. It was like an apricot,
hmm,
not
nice and
chewy, but
no, it wasn't chewy or tough like fruit leather or anything like that. We were debating about whether how similar it was to fruit roll-ups last night, and it really was more of a soft gelled candy, but it was rolled into place like that,
and it
as you can
wasn't
see.
overly sweet, so that was nice.
Yeah, and then the ones in front, when you flip them over, they had a nice little touch where they had Remy uh,
And
embossed on
chocolate.
them. Yep,
Yep.
and those, as I recall, they had the more of the traditional petit four, but it had the layers inside.
Yep.
So, and that was very good. But they weren't done yet. They also brought us out this egg that opened up, and inside it was this little tart. Do you
Yeah.
remember what that was like?
I think it was a plum tart.
It was you. Yeah, you said that last night too. But I'm not sure if it was plum or grape or what. But if you can see there, there's little. It's cut into 4 sections, and it's like a little tart pastry base.
Mhm.
And in where they cut, you can see a little difference in the color, and that's because this reminded me of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like
Yeah.
if a French chef that was highly skilled made their version, their interpretation of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And so it had layers inside of it that
Mhm.
reminded me of a very mild, kind of like peanut buttery, and then the jelly on top, or
Yep.
whatever you call that. Yeah, it
Peanut
tastes like,
butter crust.
yeah. And that was pretty much the end of it, except for one last thing, which I have learned is kind of a tradition in some cultures, including in French restaurants. They sometimes give you a parting gift.
Yes.
And
I was all for
yep,
the parting gift. I'm like, "Ooh,
yeah. So they brought us out this little box, and it had 4 different little
chocolates
chocolates. Yeah.
or truffles."
Uh huh. Well, truffles. I think that's a good
Yeah.
description. And then they gave us a couple suckers.
Yeah.
So that was what we experienced at Remy,
Mhm.
and we ate the chocolates, right?
Right.
But
And
you brought the box. You brought the box home, so at least you have the box as a
ta-da!
souvenir. So it was a
Yep.
little box with little chocolates in it. So
Yes.
let's kind of sum this up. We went with the two prefix menus. You can also order a la carte.
Mhm.
It was $125 per person with a
Yes.
prefix menu. I think if you went a la carte, unless you weren't wanting to order much, you probably would go over that. If you go back and rewind to where I showed the menu, it's hard to get a good picture of it, but if you freeze it, I think you might be able to get an idea of what's on there.
Exactly.
For the bottom portion has the a la carte items.
Mhm.
We upgraded, so we got the extra wagyu beef,
Mhm.
and I think we might have had a drink or two. But basically, we went with one of the cheaper routes to go, or the more frugal routes to go at
Right.
Remy. And our final bill, just to give you an idea, and this is back about a month and a half ago, was over $350.
That's the
Okay,
price of a new
so
purse.
so yes, so saying that, I want to say it was delicious. The service was good. It was phenomenal food. We're glad we experienced it. And if it sounds good to you at all, we would recommend you do it, keeping in mind the price, because we also have tried on more than one occasion, and including on the same cruise, going to
Yes.
Palo.
Yes.
Palo is the Italian specialty restaurant, which you do pay extra for as well, but
Mhm.
not quite as much.
Right.
There, it was closer to
It's
$100 instead of the 350 plus.
right.
So maybe a little more reasonable. Of course, as any of you have cruised before or who are familiar with cruising may know, you also have the option of just going to the main dining room,
Exactly.
like Animator's Palette, and that's included. You don't pay any extra for that.
Yeah.
Or the buffet, same thing.
Exactly.
So I told
And
you I might ask you this. I'm going to ask you
okay.
this.
Okay. I'm
If
set.
you had the chance
Yes.
on your next Disney cruise to go to Remy, knowing what it costs,
Yes.
Palo,
Mhm.
knowing what it costs, or the main dining room, knowing that it's already included, doesn't cost anything extra,
Uh-huh.
which of those three would you choose if you could only choose one?
Well,
And
I
why?
would choose Palo
Okay, and why?
because it has tiramisu.
Okay.
And um I know more of the foods because I like
Yeah.
Italian food, so
Oh, you're more of an Italian girl.
uh-huh.
Okay, well
So
that's fair. I think it's like a once in a lifetime, or at least a once every few cruises type thing. It's not something I would do every cruise.
it's a one-off thing.
Yeah, partly because of the price, but
Mhm.
also because I agree. I think Palo is the better experience on Disney cruise lines. And I'll even go so far as to say, even if the price was the same as Palo, I would still prefer Palo.
I would too.
Um, they do a great job, and I think if you go and visit both restaurants on your next Disney cruise, you'll see that Palo is busier, it has
Mhm.
a bigger space, and there's a reason for that.
Yep.
Um, I should mention a couple things. And this may be a bigger deal for some of the guys because I think a lot of ladies like you come prepared to dress up for Palo, Remy, whatever,
Right.
in main dining room dinner. For men, they're going to expect you to wear a jacket at Remy, whereas they're not going to ask you to do that at Palo. They're just going to look for a collared shirt. And, the MDR is even more laid back.
Yeah.
So, that's just something to keep in mind. But
Mhm.
if you're a big wine lover, if you love French food, try Remy.
Mhm.
If you like Italian food, go to Palo. Palo, we've done a Palo review. Later on, I'll link it in here so you can check out our Palo review too. And the main dining room, you can't really go wrong on a Disney cruise. You've got
Yeah,
the
the
main
main
dining
dining
room,
room is so much
the
fun.
buffet.
They have things going on, live entertainment.
Yep, and even out by the pool, you can get some great food there too,
Mhm.
or order room service.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, if you're thinking this sounds tempting to try, give it a try once.